Fuck it.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Hey, mama. If you are a mom and are tired of the wash, rinse, repeat burnout cycle of motherhood, this podcast is for you. If you feel lonely and isolated in your motherhood journey, this podcast is for you. If you feel like you have completely lost your identity since your babies were born, this podcast is for you. If you feel like every other mom has it together except for you, this podcast is for you. My name is Amanda, and I'm a life coach dedicated to teaching every mom the tools she needs to liberate herself off the back burner. I am living proof that a woman can be present and loving to her kids while also being a whole-ass person outside of being that kid's mom. The secret? Learning when to say fuck it. So, fun story. I actually recorded this episode already, and then I had to trash it because I went to edit it together and the sound was atrocious because the gain on my microphone was turned all the way up and I didn't notice until I was listening to it. And I was like, what the fuck? It was so bad. I was so mad. I was on such a good streak in July of like fucking publishing every Sunday, like I said I was going to. And then yesterday was Saturday and I recorded it last minute. Okay. Like, yes, I own that. But then that shit happened. And it was like 8:30 at night. At that point, I was like, nope, this is not happening now. Lesson learned. I'm always going to do a test recording now since I can't monitor myself because I don't have headphones that plug into this microphone and I'm too cheap to buy another set because I already have headphones and they work great for everything else except for monitoring myself when I'm recording. And this is what life is like as an amateur podcaster doing everything on her own. Thank you for following along, even though it's a hot mess express sometimes. So today I wanted to talk about divorce, or as I like to refer to it, completing your marriage and being an intentional single mom. Because as y'all know, I am a single mom to 4 wonderful girls, and I did it on purpose. When I completed my marriage, it wasn't because of, there was no thought in my mind of I'm going to go find someone better as like the reason behind, or like a contributing factor even. I chose to complete my marriage fully understanding that I was probably going to be on my own because I have not had it, I haven't gotten rid of any of them yet. I have 4 children. And my thought honestly then was like, no one is going to touch me with a fucking 20-foot pole with all these goddamn kids. Like if I do this, I have to do it knowing that I'm going to be on my own. And so I did. That's what I chose to do. But being a single mom, just saying like single mom, it just has like a negative connotation, right? Like people's thoughts are probably like, oh, wow, that sucks. Life is probably pretty hard for you, right? And yes, it's harder. I mean, I guess I was a single mom before I was technically single. I was already doing everything on my own. So I truly don't know what it's like to have a partner who's like equally sharing responsibilities. And I'm not trying to diss the father of my children at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just being honest. That was my experience. So I suppose this is harder. I also haven't known anything else. And it's not a bad thing to be single. Like I feel it's really important to have more conversations like the one we're about to have, where a woman chooses to be single on purpose. And it's not the end of the world. And it's actually better for her. And she's actually happier being alone than in an unhappy marriage. Because we really need to change the narrative that the pinnacle of a woman's success is to get married and have kids. That has been true since the beginning of time, but it's not true anymore. It's not all we're here for. That's not the height of what our aspirations are. And it's just nice to have options. It's nice to not be stuck in an unloving, unfulfilling marriage. It's nice to have resources, have the ability to create resources for ourselves as women. And so I think we're going to see a lot more intentional single parenting. And I just want to offer that this isn't a problem. Because most people look at, the divorce rate being 50% and see that as a problem. Like the thought is like, oh, that's so sad. What's wrong with this generation that they can't commit? Oh, they have commitment issues, or, they want it to be some grand fairy tale romance and they just can't stick it out through the hard times. And I just want to offer that maybe the divorce rate being 50% just means that for 50% of the people in this country and on this planet, most likely, having one partnership that lasts for their entire adult life until death doesn't work. That doesn't work for us. And maybe that's not a problem. Maybe it's okay that that's the case. Maybe it's not something that we need to fix. Maybe it doesn't mean that we're lazy or that we can't stick it out through the hard times. I know for sure. I certainly stuck it out through a lot of hard times. So I'll back it up a little bit. I met the father of my children, and I don't really call him my ex-husband. I don't really refer to him that way at all. And that's something that I've done intentionally, because when you say ex-husband, or ex-wife or ex whatever, it focuses solely on the negative aspects of that relationship, of that period of your time, right? Like, it didn't go the way that I planned, and now you are X'd out of my life. Except he's not, because we share custody. We have children. We are co-parenting. We are going to be in each other's lives until we die because we have 4 children. That was actually something that I had said to him when we were talking about everything and everything was ending. I said, we said it was going to be forever, and it still is. It's just that forever is going to look different than what we thought it was. But it is still forever, because we have these 4 girls who are tethering us to each other forever. But anyways, I prefer to refer to him as the father of my children, because it grounds my brain in like what we still have, and just like, we have to be civil, right? We have to be civil with each other. And so I don't want to ever let my brain get stuck in the negative parts that are all in the past. So I met the father of my children when I was 18 years old. We didn't start dating until I was technically 19. It was like a couple weeks after my birthday. And then we dated for 2 years, got married when I was 21. And then I had my first kid when I was 22. And then they kept popping out every 2 years, because that was just that season of life. But he was my first boyfriend. I didn't have any boyfriends as a teenager, and it caused a lot of like teenage turmoil and drama for me, because it it made me believe that I was unlovable, that I wasn't pretty enough, that I wasn't nice enough. I was always told that I was very hard to get to know and intimidating, and I had a resting bitch face. So, if I could just smile more, then maybe I'd get more offers. Yeah, just fix your face and then whatever. But honestly, like, now that I know myself, the way that I know myself now today, I wouldn't have done well in a teenage boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, because I do not have the type of personality that gives a shit about like surfacey relationships of any kind. I've always been this way with friendships too. If all we're going to do is just get to the surface, I want no part of it. I'm an introvert. I'm a Capricorn. It drains me to be around people. So, and if we're not going to have an intelligent, like emotionally intelligent conversation with depth to it, I want nothing to do with it. And nothing against you, person. You're probably lovely, just not for me. If we can't get past like day-to-day stuff and the weather, I don't care at all. And now that I understand that about myself, and I know that about myself, because I don't even really think I knew that about myself back then. I wouldn't have done well with a teenage relationship. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to. But he was my first boyfriend. And then I ended up marrying him, which I don't regret. Okay. That's another thing, another disclaimer. I don't regret my marriage. And I don't regret the last relationship that I was in after my marriage, because I choose to look at relationships as just seasons of life, right? Like when I got married, I thought it was going to be forever, and like in a very specific way, right? Because it is still forever. We have children. And so I just, when I made the decision to complete that marriage, I the thought that got me through it was, oh, wait, this is okay. This isn't a problem. It's not like my marriage failed. It's not like I failed. This season is just over. I just overestimated the length of time that this season was going to last. I thought it was going to last until I died. I was just wrong. And that's okay. That's not a problem. It just neutralized everything for me. Because I had a really hard time. It was hard for me to get to that point. I grew up in a Christian household. I went to a Christian private school for most of my childhood, going to public school for high school. And so I was always doing what I thought I was supposed to do. And I got to a point where I was really, really miserable, even though I had done everything the quote right way. My husband at the time spiraled into a depression that lasted for 5 years. And depression is hormonal and clinical to a point, was my experience. I know everybody has multitude of different experiences with mental health, and we're still learning so much about mental health. There's so much that we don't know, but this was my experience with him. It was like unintentional and not a choice to a point. And then it was a choice. And it was killing me. I couldn't keep on like that. And it got to the point where I was sobbing in my therapist's office, and she asked me, she said, "How long do you think you can keep this up? Doing everything, being everything for everyone except for yourself. How long do you think you can keep this up?" And I looked at her and I was really angry. When she asked me that, I was like, I don't have a fucking choice. And you know that I'm married. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to just keep going. And she just looked at me and she's like, but you do have a choice. And that was the moment when it sunk in of like, oh, right, I do have a choice. I just never really considered it. And then it was just wrapping, like dealing with the morality in my head of, well, that would make me a bad person if I divorced him. That would make me a bad mother if I divorced him. That would be perpetuating the cycle of divorce, because divorce is so horrible and bad. And just really grappling with that. I mean, I spent like another year in therapy after that point, at least, if not longer, before I got to the point where I was ready to do it. And now when people hear me talk about my divorce, I don't really use the word divorce either. I choose to call it completing my marriage because that's what it was. Divorce has such a negative connotation. And again, I want to ground my brain in the fact that my divorce was neutral because every circumstance is neutral. Every circumstance is neutral until a human brain has a thought about it. And honestly, my thought was my divorce, the completion of my marriage, was the first huge act of self-love that I exercised. That was me saving myself, throwing myself a life preserver so I wouldn't drown anymore. And I know that other brains would, hear the word divorce and have other thoughts, and that's fine. But just know that all of those thoughts that you're having around the word divorce are completely 100% optional. So if you are contemplating completing your marriage, or if you already have, and you're still grappling with guilt and shame around it, I just want to offer you don't have to live there anymore. It doesn't have to be something that's shameful or something that is another thing on your list of why you fail and suck as a human being. It's not a problem. It's just the ending of a season. So I completed my marriage, having already talked myself through, okay, Amanda, you're going to do this and you're going to be alone. You're going to have to be okay with being alone before you do this. And I was. And then I met somebody and got into a relationship pretty soon after actually being separated. And then I thought that after a while, I thought that was going to be forever, but it wasn't. And so again, I just overestimated the amount of time that person was going to be in my life. And I also, at that point, had not found thought work and life coaching. And so I didn't have all of these tools. Some of these thoughts I have worked on, retrospectively, to rid myself of any remaining layers of shame that I had around my quote failed relationships. But again, I don't see them as failures anymore. I see them as that was a season of my life. And now the season of life that I'm in is being single. And I've purposefully been single for the last year. Not a single date, not a single DM, nothing. I really, after getting out of my last relationship, which was in retrospect way too soon after my marriage completing, I really just wanted to be on my own. And I was really, after getting over the pain of that relationship ending, I actually got to a point where I was really genuinely excited to be by myself because I met the father of my kids when I was 18. I had spent my entire adult life taking care of other people, taking care of my kids, taking care of my husband, and then my boyfriend. And I finally had this opportunity where the universe was handing me this gift of, you can just take care of yourself, Amanda. And I took it and savored it and relished it. And I've really learned so much about myself this last year, stuff that I like to do, how I like to wind down at the end of my day, even because it was always me bending to whatever my husband at the time or my boyfriend at the time wanted to do. I really love reading, and I hardly ever read all those years that I spent in relationships because I I thought that the way to make a relationship work was to sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice. But then I sacrificed to the point of completely losing myself and not even knowing who I was anymore. And so it's been a real gift to just learn who I am. And it turns out that I really love going on road trips with my dog. And I really love reading, which I already knew I loved reading. But I love it more than watching TV. The father of my children and we had all these shows, all these TV shows we'd always watch when the kids went to bed. And I really don't care about TV shows. I mean, if I have the time, sure, it's great to get lost in a story, but I don't have the time because I have 4 children and I work. And so I find now that I get to choose. I really prefer just getting lost in a book than trying to keep up with a TV show. I watch movies from time to time, and then I always get to pick them. I love baking, and I actually do enjoy cooking, which it took me a while to kind of discover that because I got so burnt out cooking for my family, like having to cook dinner every fucking night for really picky children who like half of them are not going to like it and then complain that they're starving. Like it just kills your buzz. All right. But once I got to a point where I was like actually cooking for myself, because I did go through like bachelor mode where when my kids were with their dad, I was eating like cereal and fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches like the adult that I am. Because my thought was like, oh, I don't want to cook for myself. It's not worth it to go through all that trouble just for one person. And so I had to work on that thought. And it's like, no, I can cook for myself. I deserve to have nice food. And then I can try recipes that I never touch because I know my kids wouldn't eat it. And so that's been really fun. And I love just sitting outside by myself with the bonfire going. I think I'm 90 is basically what I'm trying to say. But anyways, it's just been such a gift to have this time to myself. Now, do I think that I'm going to be single forever? I don't think so. I'm definitely very much open to love, which if you caught my episode earlier in the season, I think it's episode number 8, My Love is for Me, you'll hear all about how I unexpectedly fell in love with someone and then made a grand gesture and got rejected. Hashtag no regrets. I would rather regret the things that I did than the things that I did not do. And that was ballsy as fuck, which she also told me, hey, I hope you're proud of yourself because this was ballsy. I was like, it was ballsy. I am proud of myself. Also, I'm going to go crawl in a ball and cry. I'm very much open to love. And actually, I chose to not stop loving her because my thoughts create my feelings, right? And so if I wanted to stop loving her, I'd have to change my thoughts about her, and I don't want to change my thoughts about her. So I've chosen to keep this love for somebody that I damn well know. Like, There's no question about it. Does not feel the same way for me at all. Is not even in my life in any kind of capacity. And it's been such a huge opportunity for growth for me. And I'm going to enter my next relationship in a really, really healthy place because I have worked so hard this last year, creating my own happiness for myself, creating my own love for myself, letting my love for this other person be for me because she can't feel it, obviously. Obviously, she can't feel it because it's sensations that my thoughts are creating inside my body. And that's true for you listening. If you're in a romantic partnership where you both love each other, cheers. Your love is still for you and their love is for them. You can't feel their love, which is why if you're pissed off at them and they're like, oh, but I love you, you're like, fuck off, because your thoughts are creating your feelings of fuck off and their thoughts are creating their feelings of, but I still love you. Just like that in that voice too. So yeah, I've been experimenting with holding on to desire for desire's sake, which is a concept that Carl Lowenthal covered in one of her episodes on the Unfuck Your Brain podcast. If I can find that specific episode, I will link it. I don't know that I'll be able to find it though, because it was one of her older ones. I talk about that podcast all the time. It changed my life. That was the podcast that introduced me to life coaching and thought work. And it literally changed my life. So if you have not listened to Unfuck Your Brain, you need to go there next. She'll change your fucking life. But she talks about desire and how the wanting actually feels so good, but we're so obsessed with getting the thing that we want, getting rid of the desire, that we miss how awesome and amazing desire and wanting feels. And so her whole point in that episode was challenging anybody who was listening to linger in the desire. Can you hold on to it? Can you hold on to this unsatisfied desire and appreciate it just for what it is? And that's what I've been working on in myself through this year of intentional single motherhood and loving somebody who doesn't love me back. And it's been I'm such a different person. And I've grown so much and my capacity has expanded so much. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Did it suck ass standing there in front of her getting rejected in my face? Yes, of course. That felt horrible. But I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. I am not afraid to feel anything. And if you can get to this point of being willing to feel anything, no matter if it's uncomfortable or if it's easy or if it feels good or if it feels like ass, if you can become a person who is willing to feel anything, you're fucking unstoppable. Because just think about how many times you don't do something or you don't act on something or you get yourself out of a situation simply because you don't want to be uncomfortable. Or this is a big one for women, when you don't speak your mind, when you don't say what you actually want to say because you don't want to feel uncomfortable. If you were willing to feel anything, you're unstoppable. That's what I've been working on, guys. Becoming unfucking stoppable. So I hope this episode helps you, my fellow single moms. And okay, I have to speak on this too. So there's also a thing where if you're a single mom, but the father of your children is still in their lives and you share custody or co-parent at all, then you're not really a single mom. And I just want to offer that's not helpful. It's not helpful for any groups of women to be attacking each other. What does that do for us as a collective whole? I used to kind of get an eye twitch whenever a married woman in the dance studio would talk about how, oh my God, my husband's going out of town next week. So I'm going to be like I'm going to be single mom for the whole week. And I don't know how I'm going to handle it, because at the time I was a married single mom, perpetually single and yet married, doing all of the things for 4 children by myself. And I just wanted to punch her in the tits because I was so bitter about my own life. And so it's kind of the same thing. If someone says something and it pisses you off or makes you get defensive and you want to attack that person, I want to challenge you to ask yourself why it's upsetting you. Because I guarantee it has to do with unresolved issues that you have within yourself. And then once I worked on myself, I got to a point where I genuinely had compassion for that woman, because that was really stressful for her to go from doing everything together as a team and then to have her teammate leave her. Yeah, that's really stressful. And so I don't know. I did just want to touch on that a little bit because I have had some sort of smack thrown my way for calling myself a single mom, even though their dad is involved in their life. I just don't find it helpful. And if you are a single mom with doing it completely on your own all the time, build a village for yourself. You don't have to stay in that storyline of life is hard. This is it. I'm on my own. I'm alone. And this is coming from someone who lives out of state from her family. My family lives in California and I am in Wisconsin. I've been in Wisconsin. It'll be 10 years this October. And I've had to build a village here. And it took me a really long time because I spent a lot of time doing it myself and not asking for help and not letting people in because I was just hiding. I was hiding my depressed husband. I was covering for him all the time. I was hiding in shame because that's what shame makes you do. Fun fact, the root word of shame comes from, I think, the Greek word for hide or cover. Literally, it's what we do when we shame ourselves. We're just hiding. But I'm so grateful for the village that I have now. And it's so beautiful because I created this village myself. I chose these people. I let them into my life and they've got my back. And you can have that too, no matter where you are, no matter what life has thrown your way, no matter the circumstances, you can build that for yourself too. You just have to ask for help. You have to deal with your shame monster who's stopping you from asking for help and from letting people in. I think that's all my thoughts on divorce and being an intentional single mom. I think, oh well, this is probably why I should go back to doing notes. But I hope it was helpful for you guys. And I want you to let me know what you think. In the review section of Apple Podcasts or Spotify, let me know what you thought of this episode, or just put an emoji. All of those things help with algorithms. So that way other moms can find me when they search for, motherhood podcasts. And Don't forget about Fuck It Tuesdays. I go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central on Instagram and Facebook simultaneously. And we talk about what we're saying fuck it to. Last week was the first week, and I shared one of the number one tools that I use with my clients, which is this is not a problem. If you missed it, go catch the replay. And anytime you share some love with the podcast, you get entered into my book and Starbucks raffle. Every month I give away one of my favorite books and a Starbucks gift card. So show some love. I love you guys. I hope you have a great fucking kick-ass week, and I will see you on Tuesday. Are you living your one wild life to the fullest? You're not? Why the fuck not? What are you waiting for? The time to live is now, mama. Do not wait until your youngest is in college. Let your dreams hire me for an hour so I can explain how I can help you achieve any goal in your life. You've put yourself off long enough. It's time to pour into you. The link to schedule your 60-minute complimentary consultation is in my show notes. Join the community of Fuck It Moms by following me on Instagram and Facebook at Fuck It Mothering. That's fuck without the U. So FCK It Mothering. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss your weekly encouragement. And please rate, review, comment, and share. All of these things help with the algorithms, so that way when other overwhelmed moms are looking for encouragement, they can find me. Every month, I give away one of my favorite books and a Starbucks card to a lucky winner. All you have to do to enter is write a review or tag me in social media when you share an episode. See you next Sunday, gorgeous.